attack, a dark day in Kashmir. It was a bright April afternoon in the scenic meadows of Pahalgam when horror struck. Tourists, many from other states, and even a Nepali visitor, had gathered at Baizaran, a high-altitude meadow 5 kilometers from the town, to enjoy the promise of peace among the pines. In an instant, gunfire shattered that tranquility. 2 masked terrorists mingled with the crowd before opening fire on a busload of families and honeymooners. Laughter turned to screaming. The scent of wildflowers was overwhelmed by smoke and panic. By the time the firing stopped, 26 innocent people lay dead, including young newlyweds, parents with children, and an elderly couple, and dozens more were wounded. Among the dead were 25 Indian citizens and 1 Nepali tourist. In a heartbeat, this idyllic valley witnessed its bloodiest atrocity in decades. The nation mourned as news of the carnage spread. This was the worst attack on civilians in Kashmir in a quarter century, a stark reminder of the threat that has long lurked in the mountains. Kashmir's struggle, a legacy of conflict. The tragedy in Pahalgam did not occur in a vacuum. Kashmir has been at the heart of India's conflict since 1947, when 2 newly independent nations fought over its fate. Over the decades, both India and Pakistan have claimed the valley, leading to wars and a UN-brokered ceasefire that carved a line of control through its glaciers and villages. In the late 1980s, political turmoil and allegations of rigged elections fueled an insurgency. Young Kashmiris, disillusioned and armed by outside groups, took up arms. As militants clashed with Indian soldiers, countless civilians, Kashmiri Muslims, Hindus, and others, found themselves caught in the crossfire. Villages have known raids and families have known loss. After years of heightened violence, some calm had returned to Kashmir in recent times, but suspicion and fear lingered. The Pahalgam attack brutally reignited those old wounds. In a land scarred by history, this act of terror was a grim echo of past bloodshed. Yet amid the sorrow, Kashmiris of every creed recalled that they too are victims of terror, and they vowed once more to stand up to violence and cherish peace. Operation Sindoor, India's swift military response. Within hours of the attack, India's leaders rallied. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, cutting short a foreign trip, convened a high-level security meeting in New Delhi. Home Minister Amit Shah flew to the Kashmir Valley to oversee relief and strategy. By the pre-dawn hours of May 7th, India was ready to act. In a bold, coordinated move codenamed Operation Sindoor, the Indian armed forces struck back at the terrorist sanctuaries. Naval fighters, Air Force jets, and Army commandos joined in a precision campaign against 9 identified terror camps across the line of control. 4 of these camps lay deep inside Pakistani territory, including the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters at Bahawalpur and a Lashkar-e-Taiba base near Muridke, and 5 were in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. With laser accuracy, missiles and bombs struck those hideouts. Massive orange fireballs erupted in the night sky, lighting up dark mountain peaks. Throughout the operation, the military took great care not to hit any Pakistani army base or civilian town. This was a measured, focused retaliation aimed solely at terrorists. The Defense Ministry stressed that these steps were in the wake of the barbaric Pahalgam attack, targeting only the infrastructure of the groups that masterminded the massacre. Home Minister Shah later announced that training camps and weapon depots of Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Hizbul Mujahideen, and other militant groups had been completely destroyed. The Prime Minister hailed it as India, sending a message that its resolve was unshakable. To protect India's skies during this operation, the Air Force also deployed its S-400 air defense systems. Unmanned Harpy drones loitered over Pakistani radar sites. In fact, Indian jets succeeded in neutralizing an enemy radar installation near Lahore, blinding the room so that no Pakistani missiles could be launched in return. Pakistan did attempt its own retaliation that night, sending drones and missiles toward northern Indian bases. But India's air defenses worked as planned. Every inbound threat was intercepted or fired back. No Indian village suffered harm. By dawn, Operation Sindoor was complete. The nation breathed easier, knowing its enemies had been struck hard. Yet that India had restrained itself from broader escalation. This display of military precision and coordination left the world in no doubt. India would protect its citizens and bring terrorists to justice. International solidarity, voices of condemnation and support. Throughout this crisis, India was not alone. From New York to Tokyo, leaders condemned the Pahalgam atrocity as a vile act of terror. The United Nations Security Council issued an unprecedented statement, condemning in the strongest terms the killings of 26 civilians and sending condolences to India and Nepal. The UN Secretary-General himself voiced outrage, declaring that he strongly condemns such horrific attacks. The European Union and all its member states unequivocally condemn the heinous violence, affirming that terrorism is never justified and calling for the perpetrators to be punished. Key world leaders were quick to reach out. In Washington, D.C., President Donald Trump, then serving his term, personally called Prime Minister Modi, offering America's full support and extending deepest sympathies for the victims' families. The U.S. Vice President, who happened to be on an Indian state visit that week, posted that their thoughts and prayers were with the injured and bereaved. In Moscow, President Vladimir Putin said this was a brutal crime with no justification. He reiterated Russia's readiness to cooperate with India in fighting all forms of terrorism. In London, Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemned the attack as utterly devastating and promised Britain's solidarity with India. Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni expressed that she was deeply saddened and stood with the government and people of India at this time of grief. Across Asia and beyond, countries large and small echoed these sentiments. China's foreign ministry spokesman offered sincere sympathies and strongly condemned the violence. Bangladesh, through its leaders, denounced the heinous act and voiced unwavering support in the fight against terrorism. Sri Lanka's president stated in the strongest terms his condemnation and said, "Sri Lanka always stands in solidarity with the people of India." Nepal's prime minister spoke on the phone with India's leader, offering condolences and stressing the need for both countries to combat terrorism. Even Pakistan's government, though denying involvement, stated it was concerned at the loss of innocent lives. For every message of condolence and every flag lowered in mourning, the Indian people felt a ray of comfort. The global chorus was clear. India's struggle against terror is the world's struggle. In every capital, the word was the same. India has a right to defend its citizens. We are grateful for this outpouring of international support and solemnly appreciative of our friends who stood by us. Together, the world affirmed that such attacks violate not just one nation, but all humanity. Unity and resolve, upholding our democracy. Now more than ever, the nation found itself united. The murder of innocent civilians drew unanimous condemnation across the political spectrum at home. Whatever our differences in politics or opinion, Indians came together in one voice against terrorism. This is India's strength, our diversity combined with our unity when it matters most. It is worth remembering that we live in a vibrant democracy. We elected a government on a platform of security and justice, and that government has acted with your mandate. In a democracy, debate and dissent belong in parliament or in the court of public opinion, not on the streets when our nation's security is at stake. Every citizen, regardless of party or region, must respect that mandate and trust our armed forces and leaders to protect us. For those who might question the government's course, remember that we chose these leaders to be strong on defense. Now is not the time for blame games or second-guessing every decision. Let us not fall into division. That is exactly what terrorists hope for. Instead, we honor India's democratic spirit by standing firm together. Our grief must not become a wedge between us. The people we lost in Pahalgam had exercised their freedom to travel, to work, to seek happiness. In their memory, we show that freedom by standing united. Across every state, village, and city, there are police, soldiers, and ordinary citizens watching out for each other. That sense of shared responsibility is truly Indian. As citizens, each of us has a duty to be vigilant and supportive. Pray for the victims, comfort one another, and cooperate with law enforcement. Support the rule of law. Respect the democratic process by supporting dialogue, not discord. At this time, we revere the voice of democracy, the will of the majority, and urge all to strengthen rather than undermine our elected institutions. By upholding our democratic principles and rallying behind our nation's policies, We guarantee that no act of violence will intimidate us or change the way we live. Hope, courage, and resolve. A patriotic conclusion. In the face of sorrow, India's spirit shines brightest. The loss of 26 lives breaks our hearts, but their memory steals our resolve. Each person we lost was a thread in the colorful tapestry of our nation. Their sacrifice will bind us even tighter together. Across the country, we raise the same vow. Justice will be done, and peace will endure. We look to the future with determined eyes. The beauty of India, from the Himalayas to the seas, will again outshine this tragedy. Our unity is our true strength. It is as if every citizen's resolve flames redder with the challenge. We will honor the dead by living boldly, by teaching our children tolerance, by building harmony among our citizens, by standing ever watchful against hatred. So let us stand together, hand in hand, with our homeland in our hearts. The voices of the 26 who fell will never be silenced. They live on in our determination to be stronger, kinder, and freer. In this solemn hour, we remember the words of our national motto, Satyameva Jayate. Truth alone triumphs. We believe that truth, justice, and unity will carry us through. As the sun rises over Pahalgam's peaceful meadows once more, we know India will emerge from this night darker no more. The lotus blooms again after the storm, for the ones we lost, and for the future of our country. Let this be our promise. The flag of India, saffron and white and green, will rise and wave high, a symbol of our unity and courage. In the spirit of one nation, we say together, Bharat Mata Ki Jai. May the souls of the fallen rest in peace, and may India's strength and unity forever endure.